Welcome, Mindcraft listeners. My name is Kimberly Quinn, and I am here with the amazing Jeremy Rochford to talk about, well, maybe, Jeremy, why don't you tell me what we're talking about?
We're going to talk about a bunch of stuff, but today it's going to all center around the Snowflake Principle. And I have to be very clear. This is something I developed in the early 2000s before it was political. So now I have to tell everyone the Snowflake Principle has nothing to do with politics. It has something to do with science and how we can apply it to our behavioral health.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So Jeremy, tell me how you get started with this. Maybe a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so this all came to be at its core when I was on a weight loss journey. First, I lost 120 pounds in 9 months. And then, unfortunately, I gained it all back within 3.5 years and more, which then put me on a path to lose 200 pounds. And that 200 pounds has been off now for about 20 years. What I got so frustrated with was that I thought I was fairly intelligent. And I'm not sure if you've ever been in these situations where you're like, dang it, I should be able to figure this out. I'm good. It's like the old SNL skit. Like, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like me. And if that's true, I should be able to figure this out. And so that's what got me so frustrated about this. And so, having lost the weight the first time, I was really critical that second time to go, okay, where did I fail? And what I learned was there were two main faults. One, I did not separate the science from the emotion.
Hmm.
Also, I took to heart sort of the extremism that can be weight loss, the all or nothing thought process. And that's where to rebuke and get out of that mindset is where the snowflake principle came from. So I'd
Okay.
like to unpack that for a second if you'd like.
Totally.
Fabulous. So, what do we know about a snowflake, Kimberly?
Unique, different. No,
Absolutely.
no two are the same.
And all of that's true under 32 degrees. But what happens at 33 degrees?
They melt.
Which means every single snowflake is also exactly the same.
Okay, all right, right on.
So, here in this snowflake principle, we have two absolute truths that are both absolutely correct that seem contradictory, but aren't. And that's the way I realized I had to look at weight loss. So, when it came to weight, there were certain things that have to be done. I had to think intentionally. I had to move intentionally. I had to nourish myself intentionally. I had to rest intentionally, and I had to hydrate intentionally. Those five things are non-negotiable. You, me, someone in Australia, if we want to lose weight, we all have to do those things. However, how we apply those to our lives are going to look absolutely different. The way Kimberly would lose weight is different than the way that Jeremy would lose weight. Because what you're going to think about that's intentionally motivating to you is going to be different than me. But we both, if we want to reach our goal, have to be intentional about it.
Totally.
Taking that into the food side of things. So many of us don't even think about what we eat. We're very unintentional, or it's always been this way, or I don't have the time, or whatever myriad of belief you want to have in there. Well, you've got to make sure your thoughts are congruent with your goals. And that's where the CAN process started from, which is a weight loss program I walk people through. And it's focusing on what you can do, not what you can't do. Because we can do so much more than we believe, but we have to be intentional about it. But that also filters into the movement side of things. No one's asking you to do CrossFit. And if someone is and you don't want to do it, go back to the 80s. Just say no. Right? Like, that's where I love this snowflake principle is it gives you the parameters of what you must do, but gives you full autonomy on how you do it. You must hydrate well. So many of us are underhydrated. But whether you drink the water warm, you drink the water cold, you binge drink it, or you break it up 8 cups, like you do you. Like that's why I love this philosophy, and that's why it's allowing me to not only lose the 200 pounds, but it's allowing me to keep it off. I don't want to say effortlessly, but without frustration,
Okay.
because I understand these are the things I must do, but how does it apply to my life?
Right.
Which then started to filter out into other aspects of things that I wanted to accomplish.
Oh my gosh, absolutely love this. And Jeremy, as you know, mind craft is all about living deliberately.
Mhm.
And it all starts with the, as you know, you're talking about right here, thought. We have to be, intentional if we want to see any positive change in our lives, right? If we just throw caution to the wind and fly by our asses, then we're going to get what we've always done. It won't be different. We're coming from the vault of the unconscious, right? It's good. Same thoughts, same feelings, same behavior, same. And
Yep.
what I'm hearing you saying, it's gelling beautifully with what our whole theme is here, which is thoughts come first and intention is huge.
Very much so. Very much so. It's coming to the point where you're telling yourself what you're doing. And it's not to the point of roboticness, because a lot of people will hear that and they might go, oh, so I don't get to have feelings? No, you get to feel. You should feel the feelings, but you should also have enough dominion over your feelings to say, all right, I felt the feels
Right.
and that was great for a day.
Right.
But is it worth being depressed and lamenting for 3, 4, 5, 8 days?
No.
And that's where, and I tell my kids this and I tell my clients this, like, it's always okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to stay there.
Right.
Because when you really think about it, there's way more to be grateful for than there is to lament. But society seldom gives us that message because the whole point of marketing is to sell us this lie that what we have is not enough.
I love that. Jeremy, I love that. You're you're singing my tune because I agree with you that there's a disease of wanting in our society. It's just constantly pushing the envelope instead of, I'm thinking of the scene in Harry Potter. I don't know if you're an HP fan, but when he's in front of that mirror
Yeah.
and Dumbledore comes behind him and says, like the happy, I forget how he said, but the happiest person is one who can sit in front of that mirror and only see themselves exactly as they are without all this other, without all this push from just what you're saying.
Well, very much so. And that's one of the things whenever we talk about the weight loss program I offer, I call it body positive weight loss,
Nice.
because I learned through many failures, you cannot hate yourself thin. Now,
Love that.
what that doesn't mean is self-love yourself to the grave. When I was doing my TED Talk, they asked us to find other TED Talks that we agreed with or disagreed with. The goal was to refer to them so that both would boost views. I disagree with this. Well, great. You're going to go find it and look at it. I agree with this. Great. You're going to go find it and look at it. Unfortunately, because of the content in mind, I didn't have enough time to actually put that in there.
Right.
But it put me down this path because it was for a body positivity advocate. And her whole concept was, who says I can't be beautiful? And she was 100 pounds overweight, mid 20s. I think she's asking the wrong question, because by asking that question to me, she's giving the definition of beauty to other people. The question I think that we should be asking is, do we love ourselves enough to do the things we ought to be doing despite what society tells
Oh,
us?
I love that.
And so when you look at it through the terms of weight loss and body positivity, should you be so extreme with your weight loss that you miss out on all the freedoms that come from actually losing weight? No,
Right.
because then you're just changing the bondage of being overweight to the bondage of keeping up this image.
Right.
But on the flip side of that, if you're constantly 30, 40, 50, 75 pounds overweight and your knees weren't designed for that amount of pressure for that amount of time, or your back wasn't designed for that amount of
Right.
pressure for
Right.
that amount of time, are you truly loving yourself well by carrying that extra weight? I would say no either,
Love it.
because science will hold us accountable for all the decisions we make.
Right.
And so to me, there's nothing more self care than doing the things that our body asks us for. Our body seldom asks us for fast food in multiple servings. Our body seldom asks us to be sedentary. Our body seldom asks us to be dehydrated. Our
Right.
body seldom asks us to be laced with caffeine. Notice I'm saying seldom because I got a coffee right now and I'm talking to you. This is not throw everything out. Again, we
Right.
talked about abolishing the extremes. But to me, there's nothing more body positive and self-care inducing than doing what your body is desperately asking you to do, which is to take care of it holistically.
And the self-love. Oh my gosh, Jeremy, I tell you, I just did an episode not with all the weight loss stuff, and it's so beautiful because it gels so wonderfully. I did something called hashtag self-care is not selfish.
Mm,
That the whole thing is the self-care thing about keeping ourselves filled up, authentically and all of that. Is I don't think people, and it's gelling beautifully with what you're saying about weight loss, is the root of it is self-value. We cannot take care of ourselves we don't value. It all comes down to knowing your value.
yeah, 100%. So one of the things I work with my clients on, and if you're a fan of the hero's journey, this should resonate. What I had to learn when trying to lose weight was that there were three specific conflicts that I was fighting at the same time. I had my external conflicts, my internal conflicts, and my philosophical conflicts. What's frustrating for most people who are trying to lose weight is they take weight loss advice from people who've never lost weight.
That's huge.
I
Wow.
really want you to
Yeah.
think about that far too often. And I'm guilty of it too. I'm in my 40s. Don't get me wrong. I'll see some dudes on Instagram and I'm like, damn, those dudes look good. But I've got two kids. Both of them are autistic. Like I don't have the time to spend 2 or 3 hours at the gym every other day or even every day.
Right.
And so like what they're gonna tell me to do, I physically can't do.
Right.
And so we stop and or my fault, we seldom stop to think, is this information applicable to me now? Because one of the things I work with a lot of my female clients is a lot of them want their pre-baby body back. And the first thing I ask them is, cool, but were you happy with that body then?
Well, there you go. Okay.
I've yet to have someone actually say yes. And if
Right.
that's the case, then why go back to something that you know you weren't happy with?
Right.
Why not figure out what is missing in your life that's making you unhappy as it relates to your body? Figure out a way to edify that need while also allowing the physical, the mental, and the emotional to be nourished as well. And so in learning all this and figuring this stuff out for myself, I realized there's an external conflict, an internal conflict, and a
Mhm.
philosophical conflict. Most people, whether they're qualified or not, give advice on the external stuff. This is your meal plan, this is your exercise program,
Mhm.
right? But beyond that, though, there's a physical realm. My fault. There is a internal realm. There's an internal conflict of the things we say when we look in the mirror, when we step on the scale, the things we say about ourselves that we'd never say about anything else or anyone else.
Right.
Like the amount of hate we throw on ourselves when we look in the mirror without clothing is ridiculous.
Mhm. Mhm.
But beyond that, there's that philosophical idea of value and worth. And that's where you touched upon. Everything has to stem from that
Everything.
because a lot of people don't feel like they're worthy or they pass that off because they've taken on another identity. Well, I'm a parent, so I come last. Obviously, there's the cliche of the mask comes down, you've got to help yourself before your kids, but
Mhm.
I'll take it a different direction because it changed my life. When I was in the music industry working in Nashville, a very successful artist came in, female artist. She's in her mid 40s, probably late 40s at that time, very successful again. Just had my first kid. And we're going to get very authentic. So she ended up having foot and mouth disease. She couldn't go into school, so she came to the office because I had a more leisurely schedule than my wife did. And so, of course, the female artist who came in is just eating it up. You know, there's my 3-year-old. It's adorable. And so she turns and she looks at me and she says, "Do you want the best for your daughter?" And I was like, Yeah. She's like, no, really, do you want the best for your daughter? I was like, yeah. She's like, then never forget this. You lose the right to tell them that they could do or accomplish whatever they want the minute you stop pursuing that in your own life.
Wow. That's powerful because it's like when parents do try that do as I say, not as I do thing,
Very
definitely
much
doesn't fly
so.
with teenagers. You're gonna get the double finger up. Like if you're
100%.
smoking and you're telling them not to smoke,
Dude, they're chucking birds all day. You're
yeah,
overweight and you're trying to
chucking
tell you,
birds
right?
all day.
You're you're overweight and you're telling your kid they need to lose some weight. Like who are you?
Right.
Right? You're telling them they need to be nice to their friends and you're there MFing the sports because, your team sucks again. Like
Or gossiping or whatever, right?
exactly. And but that whole concept of never give up on your dreams is the best way to show that to your children that anything's possible. Whether it's our publishing dreams, our speaking dreams, our
Right
fitness, like,
on.
no matter what our dream is, I would make the argument that we owe it to not only ourselves, but the people who are watching us, our children, our spouses, the
Mhm.
people who are actually worth our attention. They earn the benefit when we do what's best for us,
Oh,
not in a selfish
100%.
way,
Right, right, right.
but in a beneficial way, not a narcissistic way,
Right.
but in a but
Authentic.
in a but in a rising tide raises all ships kind of way,
Nice. Love the plug.
right? Shout out
Totally.
Jake.
Right. Totally. Oh my God. Actually, in our group is wonderfully authentic. I was loving what everything you've said, Jeremy. And I was thinking about, the whole mind body thing. It's often been said, right, that if you want to know what's going on with the mind, ask the body,
Mm, yeah.
because I love how you're like, we hear mind body connection. It's kind of like buzzwordy now, but you brought depth to it because it really is true. I like how you said the body seldom asks us to do anything, just kind of we take it for granted. I definitely do. I'm guilty of that.
Yeah.
Keep plugging, put in, and how that to really know that value, and also that whole hashtag self care is not selfish thing is the good selfish versus the bad selfish. I think they're two different ways to go. Like the good selfish is keeping ourselves filled up so that we can be able to give. We can't give what we don't have, right?
Yep.
And then the other thing you said, Jeremy, made me think of just of alignment because you've been talking a lot about the external and the internal. And I know I feel it. I'm sensitive to because I'm constantly, contemplating things. When I'm out of alignment, I'm like, I'm out of alignment. When the outside is and the inside are in sync, I feel like I have the world by the ass.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like the whole concept of the body keeps score isn't just negative ways. You go on some type of fast, whether it's a social media fast,
Right, right,
right? Like you cleanse your body of some of the things it's not asked you to do for the past X amount of years. How
right.
good do you feel?
Great.
Well, exactly. And I feel like the whole concept of the body keeping score is often presented as a negative because it's typically associated with trauma, which again, very valid. But it
Yeah.
also keeps score of the positive stuff we do. If you do yoga for an entire month, your body is going to feel fantastic.
Yes, 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 yes.
If you make it your intention to get hydrated, your body is going to feel great and it's going to respond. So I feel like the tally of the body keeping score goes both ways. Far too often, though, it's represented in the negative context. But I feel like if we're being honest, we need to build up the positive context of that as well.
Oh, I love this, Jeremy. Vander Kolk is the body keep score guy, right? Did a
Yeah.
lot of work on trauma, and he's amazing. Though I 100% agree with you that maybe it's time to do a shift, and not that that work's not all important, but the positive can be super motivating.
Well, 100%. And as I look in my life and neurodiversity and inclusion is starting to be a very much a common theme, maybe there needs to be more diversity and inclusion of positivity in some of these conversations because we're really good at bringing out the negative in a lot of it.
Mhm.
But like you said, so much work has been done to show positive studies on positive reinforcement. And
Oh, go ahead.
look at corporate culture, right? Like how many times have you heard people say, we don't quit jobs, we quit bosses?
Oh, yeah.
Well, we're probably not quitting bosses who are being favorable to us,
Right.
right?
Good leadership. Right.
Right? I've never heard anyone go, I have too much damn autonomy. What am I going to do here? Time to quit.
Right. And then they really got to stop that one catered lunch a month where we all hang out and get together. That's killing me.
Right? What I get off,
You
I get paid time off from December 22nd to January 1st. Y'all suck,
know?
right? Like, but the thing is, it's amazing. We spend all this time and money to try to make arguments about what's wrong, but why not take the other reality and say, well, what's right? And let's extrapolate that, which sort of ties back into the weight loss programming concept of can. That's
Right,
why
right.
I wanted to build a program based around what you can do, because we are so much capable. We are so much more capable than A, we give ourselves credit for, and then B, we honestly allow ourselves to experience.
Oh, totally. I'm thinking also too, Jeremy, speaking of the rising tide raises all ships, right? Because Jake posted something, I think it was yesterday, based on James Clear's Atomic Habits
Love that
when
dude.
I know,
Love
right?
both dudes. I love Jake and I love James.
Right, right, right. So like that whole thing, if you I don't know if you saw that on Instagram, but that whole thing where we often have these goals that are maybe too high, we need some steps, like keep the goal, but let's have a staircase.
Mhm.
And also we often give up before the results have a chance. And that whole thing about, and James could, I'm kind of paraphrasing a little bit, but when we do just, isn't it like 1% more or something? It's like small.
Yeah, so it's an image where it's the mathematics is 0 times 0 equals
Right, right,
0.
right.
But then right underneath it is 0 times 0.01
It's like 37 or
equals
something. Yeah.
37.4. So, and the whole concept is to show like even an nth degree of effort
Get you
via
somewhere.
compound interest gets you 37% further than had you literally done nothing.
Right. So if you look at it in the weight loss thing,
Oh yeah.
it's because I think in life in general, right? Weight loss is one fill in the blank, but if it's I want to stop this or start that, and it can seem like Mount Everest, but when you look at it that way, that actually when I read his book, that really helped me. Like if you're trying to get on the bike again, or that's often a tough uphill thing when you haven't done whatever for a while, or
Yeah,
you've been doing whatever for a while. Either way,
very much so. Yeah.
that gave me like it gave me incentive to really get going. I think it was the bike, it was the Peloton, because I'm like an outside person. I don't even like that. But
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? If I do 10 minutes a day, 10 minutes is better than no minutes. Like on the days
100%.
when it's monsooning, otherwise I am outside. But like on the days when it's 10-pound drops, um, it really got me going.
No, and I love that James has done such great work to empirically prove what we feel. Ironically, this is what I love about talking, not just with you, but with people, is like you never know where the conversation was going. So we started talking about the snowflake principle, but also separate the science from the emotion.
Right.
I think James has done a really great job of putting scientific data to a lot of our feelings.
Oh, totally.
Because how many times will we say, like, I feel better if I do something every day to further the business or my health. But then James comes along with the empirical mathematics and goes, well, the reason you feel this way is because of science. Here's the right.
Here it is.
Right. And so I love that we're starting to, in an age of AI and all that, we're starting to see our emotions and our feelings and our thoughts on paper.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right
And
on.
I feel like that helps us process things that we maybe a few years ago didn't know how to verbalize.
Right, right, right. And Jeremy, I'm actually thinking of something else that ties into your fabulous weight loss philosophies and everything is also James Clear, just came into my head this minute, is his whole idea of habit stacking.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Because when you're already starting and you're starting to gain a little bit of momentum, losing weight, I wonder if did you have that happen along your route where like you gain momentum, it got a little easier. I'm not saying easy, but like got like easier to maintain, kind of like when you play guitar, you start to get calluses after a
Yep.
month or two, you're playing Margaritaville. You know what I mean? Did it get like a little easier to maintain and then you found yourself able to stack a little bit?
Yes. Shout out to the guitar players, because if you can play a C, if you can play a G, you can play a C sus, and then all of a sudden you're playing a D sus, and now you're playing Wonderwall for all your friends. So yes, habit stacking I think was very important. Now, 20 years ago, didn't really have much of a name, and maybe we did. I just wasn't into
Hmm.
as much of the development as we are now. But it's that whole concept And this is what I help walk people through when I'm coaching them of how, life's hard enough. How do we make it easier?
Right.
Right. So like let's use trying to lose weight. So most of us, or maybe it's just me and I'm bad at life, but most of us are busy and rushed. And so if that's the case, when you have a moment of free time, instead of being tied to our phones and things that really don't matter in that moment, how can we step back and go, okay, if I just set my shoes out and if I just set my running shorts out, I'm more likely to actually go running tomorrow. Or if I know I'm going to have salad tomorrow, why not just pack it? So all I
Right.
have to do
Right.
is grab it. Because for me, the two biggest fallacies that I had to, as well as coach a lot of people through, is the fallacy that weight loss takes too much money and you don't have enough time. And none of that's true. We all have 24 hours in a day,
Right.
but the people who are intentional with that time are the people who are successful.
Because who's in charge of your schedule?
When you're first in charge of your time and telling it what to do, then you've got the freedom to pack your salad instead of forcing yourself to grab a $24 salad, which is why it doesn't cost. Because, like, you break it down, you can, from home, you could have a salad with graham crackers and water for about $1.90 for a lunch.
Right. Right.
How's that more expensive than McDonald's?
Right.
Right. But it's the two biggest dominoes. It's the being intentional aspect. It's bringing back to what James was talking about, habit stacking. It's what's that first habit? I'm going to exercise. Great. How can you make habit? How can you make
Mhm.
micro habits within that? Well, I'm going to make sure that my shoes are out and I've got my running socks. I'm going to make sure that 3 days ahead, like with me, like let's bring this into real life. So I play hockey.
Mhm.
That's how I like to stay active. I just love playing hockey. Well, to play hockey, sorry to get all personal, I've got to have special underwear and socks.
Right.
Well, if I don't have 2 or 3 games clean in advance, I put myself in a situation where if it's game day and I'm like, I don't have anything clean, what do I do?
Right.
I
Right.
guess, right?
100%.
Same thing with other forms of exercise. Like when I ran, I had these very tight shirts because, when you lose 200 pounds, you got some jiggle going on.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I had to have some compression. If my 2 compression shirts weren't washed, then I have a really easy example to go, nope, can't do
Right.
it. But the micro habits I developed was, all right, exercise done. Let's get it in the wash. Same thing with food, right? The meal, like I'll plan out my meals, but then I'll also, when I'm eating out, I'll realize like this is probably a 3 portion meal. So as soon as it comes, I'll be like, hey, this is fantastic. Can I have a box? Because I know
Oh,
off
okay.
the top, half that portion is going to go for tomorrow, which another life hack, I just turned one meal into
And
2 meals.
it's 100%
A
cheaper.
100% cheaper. And these are the kind of the patterns I help people deconstruct when they're like, Jeremy, I've tried everything, nothing works. It's so
Right.
expensive. I don't have time. And it's like, well, you may feel that way, but you've also probably not worked with someone who's done what I've done. So let me show you sort of the secrets
Right.
and the behind the scene things that people on Instagram and TikTok try to tell you about, but don't actually know.
Right.
And so to your point, yeah, not just being in a place of habit stacking, but creatively habit stacking so that you make your time work for you rather than against you so that you can accomplish that 37% greater.
It comes down to intention again, right?
One
Because
one hundred
we're
percent.
making decisions one way or the other. So either they're active and in our favor or passive and not so much. Expensive, fattening, the rest. And I loved how you tapped into the 20-second rule. I'm a huge fan. I don't know if you've read Sean Akers' Happiness Advantage.
No, but it sounds
Oh my
intriguing.
God. He does he actually uses your example, Jeremy, about
Wow.
when he was doing this himself with it was running too, with the running
Mm,
sneakers and the shorts, because apparently it's been researched, it's been proven that that's the window where
oh,
if it goes like the 30 seconds, we're like, forget it. Whether it's in a good way or a bad way, like getting out the door to run. So my example, which is also health related, mental health related, is I've been writing in gratitude journals for years. And I have
mm,
my gratitude, this is the 20-second rule times 2. I have it on my windowsill. I do it every single day. I am grateful for 3 things. and I have to, it's on my windowsill. I have to walk out of the bedroom. I have to walk by it.
Hmm.
So there it is. And I have a pen stuck in it. So that's the other thing, the habit stacker, right?
Yeah.
Because what happens if you go look for a pen? You can't find, you're digging in a drawer, you're tired. Oh, tomorrow, mañana, right? But it's on the
Right.
windowsill with the pen. And I can't tell you the last time I missed a day of that. So if you
Mhm.
transfer it to the weight loss thing and the exercise thing and the packing of meals,
Yeah.
we have a daughter who's really good with that because she teaches third grade and there is no time.
Yeah.
She
Yep.
gets up at 5 in the morning, like there's no extra. People I don't think realize when you're that intentional, how easy you've just primed your day, which is tomorrow, right? To
Yep.
be really good. Like you've set your day up to be, and you also saved a ton of life minutes because you're not scrambling around and you made it cheaper.
Well, and you made those quality of life minutes better because you're not stressing, you're not
Right.
anxious. It's no, it's one of the things that we talk about within the program is like not just time management, but attention management.
Right,
And it's
right,
it's
right.
it's it's interesting because it's one of the biggest secrets in the weight loss game, but it's not thought about because, and I don't know what your life has looked like, but no one's ever come to me and said, Jeremy, I want to look so sexy in my time management this summer. Like who, no one does that. But but it's the it's those little secrets of if you can control your calendar, if you can control your day,
Mm-hmm.
and if you're willing to, and I say that because there are some people I don't work with who they're just not compatible. Like they're just not there yet. The people who want to say, yeah, but I know they're not really ready. Because to me, there's an art to weight loss and there's a science to weight loss.
100%.
That's where I think is missing from a lot of this weight loss programming is the art. We have science in droves, but
Right.
and this is to me
Art.
what makes the snowflake principle so powerful because what it does is it deliberately brings the art of weight loss
Mm-hmm.
to the forefront. It acknowledges that we're all different, but we have to do similar things.
Mm-hmm.
But the art is how do we make that apply to you?
Mm-hmm.
If you're not a morning person, don't do this in the morning. If you hate salmon, don't eat salmon. If you've got bad knees and a bad back like me, don't do CrossFit. However, though, if you're someone like our friend Jake, who's got a little bit younger knees on him and loves hiking, then God bless you. Go do it. That's not going to work for me, but you know what? It doesn't have to work for me to
Right.
work for you. And so
You
to
have to
work,
want to do it, right, Jeremy? Like if you're not a gym rat, your willpower is only going to last so long. Is that what you're saying?
no, what I'm saying is there's an art to applying all that we're talking about.
Right.
But if you're not open to acknowledge that it's possible, then it's never going to be possible.
Right, 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 right.
The point was saying that there are some people, and I doubt that any of them are listening to this because the people who listen to this are all fantastic and they're all go-getters. That's why they're listening to this.
Right,
But
exactly.
I'm sure every single one of them has that person in their life
Right,
who's that negative Nancy.
right, right, right.
You're not going to do the things.
Right, right, right. Yeah, we're all, I guess where I was going with that example, I was thinking, Jeremy, is like as far as the exercise thing, it seems like you have to want to do it. You know what I mean? Like if the
Yep.
gym is not if it's a painful thought, don't do that.
Hmm.
Run or swim or something else, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, and
so
that's
go ahead.
okay. No, I was gonna say like that's what I'm talking about. Like that's the whole thought process behind can, which is you've got to get active.
Gotta move.
What do you want that to look like?
Gotta
Is
move.
I've got some clients who are walking their dog every day and they're losing 50 pounds in 6 months.
Wow.
I've got I've got other clients who are running 3 miles a day and that's what they're doing. And they're having great successes.
See that? See, that gives hope to a lot of people, I think, Jeremy. And it's also a wonderful way to roll into our wind up here because you're talking a lot about how you can help other people. And maybe you can, if you have a little bit more to say on that, and then maybe we can tell our Mindcraft listeners, how they can find out more about you.
Yeah, if you have any questions, if you agree or disagree with anything I say, I'd love to hear from you. I'm not opposed to any feedback. In fact, I love having conversation on any side of this topic. So if you're interested, if you want to learn more about what we're talking about in terms of weight loss, how to help can apply to your life, get in touch. You can find me at rochfordwellnessacademy.com. So it's just my last name, rochfordwellnessacademy.com. You can go there, you can find a bunch of success stories, you can find a little bit about what we're doing, you can find my TED Talk, you can find a direct way to contact me. Like I said, if you're like, no, you're way off, let's have a conversation about it. If you're like, oh my gosh, this dude finally gets it, I found my spirit animal, I must work with you, contact me there as well, anywhere in between. And that's how you and I met. We just love talking, we love meeting people, and I got to meet you, and so here we are. So I'd love to,
100%.
if you have any interest in what we're talking about, shoot me a message, rochfordwellnessacademy.com.
Okay, and what I'll also do, Jeremy, if it's okay with you, is I'll put it in the link below. I'll put all your info below so they can just click on that. I'll put your TED Talk there too. So if folks want to check that out, it'll be right there, handy dandy.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Sound good?
Sounds fantastic. Thank
All
you so much
right.
for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jeremy. I know I definitely got a bunch of nuggets from you, kind of carrying over from our conversations when we were in Orlando. And I'm just really looking forward to having another one. So thanks
Great.
again.
Yeah.